I was 4 years old when my father disappeared from my life. No dramatic goodbye, no heartfelt explanation, he simply stopped being there. My mother remarried a year later, and by the time I was 6, my stepfather made it very clear that I was not his son. I still remember the day he said it. "I'm married to your mom. That doesn't make me your dad." It wasn't shouted. It was calm, cold, and permanent. Growing up in that house felt like living on borrowed time. I was fed, clothed, and sent to school, but never embraced. My half-brother and half-sister were treated differently. Warmer birthdays, softer discipline, more patience. I learned early how to make myself small, quiet, and self-sufficient. On my 18th birthday, my mother woke me up before sunrise. She handed me a suitcase filled with my clothes and said, "It's time." No argument. No celebration. Just exile. I left without looking back. That was the last day I had contact with them. Years later, when I met the woman who would become my fiancée, I told her everything. I didn't want secrets in my future marriage. I expected empathy. Instead, she encouraged reconciliation. At first, it was gentle. "Maybe they've changed. People grow. Don't you want closure?" When we started planning our wedding, her suggestions turned into pressure. "You should invite them," she would say while flipping through guest lists. I would calmly explain that I had no parents to invite. Not emotionally. Not practically. She didn't let it go. Last night she crossed a line. "If you won't invite them," she said firmly, "I will. You don't always know what's best for yourself." That sentence did something to me. It wasn't about my family anymore. It was about control. About her deciding my trauma was negotiable. Snap. "If you can't respect what I went through," I told her, "maybe we shouldn't be getting married." I grabbed my keys and left before I said something worse. I drove aimlessly for hours, ending up at a friend's apartment. I didn't get home until nearly 11 p.m. She had already gone to bed. I slept on the couch. In the morning, she left for work without saying goodbye. I thought the silence might cool things down. I had no idea it was about to explode instead. Because the next evening, she wouldn't be coming home alone. And what she would bring through that door would reopen wounds I had spent years stitching closed. My fiancé usually gets home around 5:30 p.m. I work remotely, so I was already finished for the day when the clock hit 6. By 6:10 I started worrying. We may have argued, but she never disappeared without a text. At 6:15, headlights filled the driveway. When the door opened, my stomach dropped. She wasn't alone. Standing behind her was my half-sister. Now, my sister and I had a complicated but steady relationship. We met every Thursday for coffee. She lived about 45 minutes away, so surprise visits weren't normal. They both looked nervous. "What's going on?" I asked. My sister burst into tears. Between sobs, she explained that when she told our parents about my engagement, it triggered chaos. Not because they cared about me, but because it made them reflect on my half-brother. He's 27, still living at home. No stable job. No serious relationship. Apparently, my mom wanted to push him out the way she pushed me out. My stepfather refused. They separated over it. And somehow this became my fault. My sister believed that if I invited them to my wedding, it would heal the family divide. That my engagement had sparked the rift, and therefore my wedding could fix it. I laughed. Not kindly. "My engagement didn't cause this," I said. "Their parenting did." She cried harder. This time I didn't comfort her. I turned to my fiancé. "How did this even happen?" She looked guilty. "Your sister said that during your Thursday talks, you always brought up the family. That deep down you wanted reconciliation." I stared at her. "I've told you I'm no contact. I've never said I wanted them back." She hesitated, then offered to show me her phone. My sister panicked. "Please don't." Too late. The messages were devastating. My sister had been telling her that I secretly missed them. That I was ashamed to admit I wanted to fix things. That I blamed myself partially for the distance. None of it was true. Every time my fiancée asked me about inviting them, and I said no, she would text my sister behind my back. And my sister fed her lies. A narrative where I was confused and emotionally blocked. I felt something inside me harden. Leave, I told my sister. She protested weakly. Thursdays are over, I added. She kept apologizing as she walked out. I blocked her number. Then I looked at the woman I was supposed to marry. I love you, I said quietly. But you went behind my back. She cried. Apologized. Said she thought she was helping. But help doesn't feel like betrayal. We agreed to couples therapy. Not because I was sure we'd survive this, but because I needed to know if we even could. And therapy would reveal more than either of us expected. Couples therapy wasn't comfortable. It wasn't gentle. It was raw. I said things I had buried for years. About abandonment. About being disposable. About how control disguised as help feels suffocating. My fiancée struggled at first. She truly believed she was trying to heal something broken inside me. What she didn't understand was that I wasn't broken. I was protecting myself. One breakthrough session changed everything. The therapist asked her, "Why was it so important to you that his parents attend?" She paused for a long time. Then she admitted something unexpected. She wanted the perfect wedding. The kind with parents smiling in the front row. Family unity. Clean photographs. A symbolic reconciliation story. She had projected her fantasy onto my pain. Hearing that hurt, but it was honest. She apologized again. This time differently. Without defending herself. I set firm boundaries. My family would not attend. Ever. Not unless I initiated it. She agreed. Slowly, trust began rebuilding. Brick by brick. We communicated better. Listened more. Reacted less. By the final sessions, we decided to move forward with the wedding. Family-free. It felt cautious but hopeful. For the first time in months, I believed we might actually make it. The invitations were finalized. The venue confirmed. The vows written. We stood on the edge of something new. But healing is fragile. And sometimes, trust breaks in the quietest, most devastating ways. Because on the day meant to celebrate us, everything would collapse again. The wedding day arrived bright and calm. Standing at the altar, I felt steady. My friends filled the seats. The atmosphere felt clean. Drama-free. She walked down the aisle, radiant. For a moment, I believed we had made it. The ceremony began smoothly. Vows were exchanged. Then it was my turn. I spoke about our journey. About rebuilding trust. About choosing each other. And then, as I mentioned our agreement to keep family conflict away from this day, I noticed her expression shift. Guilty. I followed her glance toward the back of the venue. And there they were. My mother. My sister. Sitting quietly. Invited. My chest tightened. The air felt thin. We had agreed. Clearly. Repeatedly. I stepped away from the script. I need to address something, I said to the guests. Murmurs spread. This day was meant to honor boundaries we rebuilt together. Yet some of those boundaries have been crossed. Silence fell heavy. I can't continue this ceremony. Her eyes filled with tears. She reached for me. I couldn't reach back. I walked down the aisle alone. Not in anger. In self-preservation. Behind me, whispers grew louder. In front of me, the exit doors opened. And with each step, I realized something painful. Love isn't enough if trust isn't sacred. But the real aftermath hadn't even begun. The days after the wedding were chaotic. Messages flooded my phone. From her, from my sister, even from my mother. I ignored them all. I needed space. Not explanations. Friends rallied around me. Some thought I overreacted. Others said I did the right thing. But none of them lived inside my history. The betrayal wasn't just about inviting my family. It was about breaking a promise on the most important day of our lives. Weeks passed. She eventually stopped calling. The silence was both painful and peaceful. I reflected constantly. Did I give up too quickly? Or did I finally stand firm for myself? I started individual therapy, focused on healing without compromise. For the first time in years, I wasn't trying to fix anyone else's expectations. I was just protecting my own. The wedding that was supposed to begin a chapter instead ended one. But sometimes endings are protection in disguise. Still, I couldn't shake one lingering thought. Was this truly the end of us? Or was there something left unsaid? Months have passed. I've rebuilt routines, strengthened friendships, focused on stability. She reached out once more, a letter this time. No excuses, just accountability. She admitted she invited them because she believed a grand gesture would force healing. It wasn't malicious, but it was misguided. We met once in a neutral cafe. The conversation was calm, honest. She asked if we could try again, slowly. I told her something important. I can forgive mistakes, but I can't build a future with someone who overrides my boundaries. She understood. We didn't reconcile romantically, but we parted respectfully. As for my family, there's still silence. And I'm okay with that. Because family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by safety. Looking back, I don't regret walking away. That day at the altar wasn't a failure. It was clarity. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself, even when it breaks your heart. But healing is never a straight line. And who knows what the next chapter will bring.